Hello everybody, this is Diane. I hope you're all having a good day today. I am here to show you 3 little golden book journals that I have completed. These are Eclectic journals, Stash Buster journals. I certainly had the idea, the motivation of using up some supplies. So I would consider them Stash Buster journals. The one that has more of a theme than the others would be this one, because I have a lot of Mother Goose elements in it. But I also have those same elements in the other journals, even though they're not Mother Goose books. I'm not going to talk a lot about every little detail. I do want to just talk a little bit before I get into them about the elements that I used, especially the Mother Goose, or actually these are little golden book elements and Mother Goose elements. So I had this set of little children's cards, and they were illustrations from this book, Little Golden Book, Eloise Wilkins. So I used a lot of those in here, and I also used some in the other books. I also had these Little Golden Book Go Fish card game cards, and I think somebody sent these to me in a Happy Mail. I don't remember who, but I so love these cards, and I just been hoarding them. So I'm using them in Little Golden Book journals. So I did use quite a few of those, and I got this. Everything I Need to Know I learned from this Little Golden postcard book. So it's just a bunch of postcards that have a little illustration from a classic Little Golden Book and something you can learn from that book. So I used a lot of those. I'll talk about a few more things as we go, but basically I just want to show the books without doing too much talking. We'll see how that goes. So let's start with this Eloise Wilkin Mother Goose Little Golden Book. I tied them all with seam binding. I put an eyelet edging on the front edge of this, and it was one that it had like a seam binding or bias tape that wrapped around both edges, and I sewed that on there, and I sewed all the way around. And someone asked me what kind of sewing machine I use and what kind of needle I used. I just have a cheap Singer sewing machine that I got at Joann's, and I didn't change my needle when I sewed. I just sewed slowly, and it's not extremely thick, so the sewing machine sewed through it with no problem. On the back, I had a lot of fun collaging with Mod Podge. No, I didn't use Mod Podge. I just used glue. I used Fabri-Tac glue in on this, and I just put it in a frosting bottle. It makes it easier to get a fine line out. Goodness. And I have a little bit of fabric on the edge here, just for fun. There's a pretty fabric on the spine and a really pretty trim that I just got in a Happy Mail. And I have 3 signatures sewn in. And I think there are 9 or 10 pages that are folded into each signature. So some rickrack on the inside. One of the things that I used in all of the journals and as part of the stash busting was I had taken scraps, cut off scraps of scrapbook paper and sewn them together and created just pieced pieces, which I then took and cut to the right size to make pockets and tuck spots. So you'll see a lot of those in here. This is one, and I added this element here, just a printable piece as decoration. Here's a postcard, journal card, and another Mother Goose element that I used was the Mother Goose, I guess it's called I don't remember if it's Mother Goose or Nursery Rhymes. Classic Nursery Rhymes is what it is, from Mrs. Coggs. And I will link her shop below. I used a page or 2 from the original book in each signature, but I don't have the entire book in any of the books. There's just a plain card sewn on there. This is gift wrap, vintage gift wrap. This is a book on doing calligraphy. A gardening book. This is one of the Eloise Wilkin cards and the matching Mrs. Cog image, and it's attached to one of the postcards. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. This is just a digital, and I just glued a space that you can journal on here. There are some children's book pages. This page, I think there's one in each book, and it's from a Swedish children's book that I received in a Happy Mail. So it's got Swedish and as the text. These little tuck spots, there's one in each journal. I created these in a video previously. I don't know how long ago it was, but it's wallpaper that was cut with a Polaroid die cut, and then I embellished it with a children's book illustration and just whatever embellishments went with it. And I love all of them, and I didn't want to use them, but I did, and they're great in these journals. This is embossed, kind of like a handmade paper. I got a whole pack, and they're all different, so that's just got some flowers embossed on it. There's an envelope here with one of the postcards, and I did some collaging on the back of each of the envelopes. Here I had this little scrap from Graphic 45 nursery rhyme paper, and I just cut that out in the shape of a tag. It says Little Jack Horner and Georgie Porgy. And here is a fruit label, vintage. Well, it's digital, and I have those printed, but I never use them, so I think I used a couple, 2 or 3 in these journals. And here's just a little digital on some scrapbook paper and the front part of a card. So cute. So there's quite a bit of room for journaling on the pages, and there's also a lot of tags and cards that you can journal on. This one has the old Mother Hubbard, and she's looking in her cupboard for some food, so I put this, it's a playing card for some kind of a game, and it has bread and bacon. And this is a card that I made with corrugated paper, which I have a crimper, so I made that myself with a scrap. That's a stamp. It's a glassine bag with a napkin on it. Second signature has another piece together pocket, one of the fish cards, and a colored index card with a little piece of fabric sewn to it. This had printing on the paper, so I just covered that up with a spot you can journal on. This was a piece together paper that I had, and I had cut out a clock and punched out a circle, so I just combined those two pieces for some fun. You can see some more clocks were cut out of there. And I tucked this postcard in, and you can see somebody's being lazy in there. You can see his crossed legs and his feet. You can just pull it out to see who it is being lazy. I used some of the stickers from my Antiquities book of stickers that Jeannie sent me. I just used a few of them. So this one is a $1, $1, a 10 o'clock scholar, and so I used a $1, $1 playing card there, little kid's card. More gift wrap, and this one is a gift wrap with nursery rhymes depicted on it. This is a post-it note children's book page. Here we have another piece of the embossed handmade paper, specialty paper, I guess I would call it. And this was in my stash. So like I said, it's a Stash Busters journal, and I pulled down my box of handmade ephemera and pockets and things and used as many of them as I could. And this was in there. and a card and a Mrs. Cog printable of Little Miss Muffet. Another envelope. This is it was for scrapbooking, but it's designed as a library pocket and card, but it's thank you note. I took that in there. And that's a sticker and a card and a printable. Somebody sent this to me in a Happy Mail. It's a tag that they collaged on. Very pretty. There's a pat a cake from the book, from this golden book, and then the pat a cake card. You can see that image right there. Here I just clipped on one of the printable cards and this printable dress. There's a glassine bag. Whoops. I clipped two pages together. Some stamping here. There's a little bunny up there that says hippity hop. And a glassine bag with a tag. These tags that are in these bags were cut from 6x6 paper. I cut the paper in half and then made tags out of each half. So again, that's using up stash. There's a sticker. This little embellishment was in my stash. This pocket was in my stash. I just added this digital card. And there's little Jack Horner. You saw the card previously. And another vintage gift wrap with nursery rhymes on it. This was stitched together paper. I added this little piece for an embellishment. That's cut from one of the gift wrap pieces. This is a sheet of really nice quality stationery. It just has this kind of a red border around it. This is handmade paper. This was in my stash of handmade ephemera. And this is a pocket that I pieced together and then added a paper cluster on top of it. I love this stamp. It's from Stampin' Up! From a long time ago, but it's the set has frogs in it. This one is sitting on a lily pad fishing, and there's pickled flies next to him for his bait, apparently. But the words say, "Time's fun when you're having flies." For some reason, that just cracked me up, and I bought the set. This is a vintage, not extremely vintage, because it's dated, the first date is 1990. So is that vintage? It's 20 years old. 30 years old, so I guess it is. Anyway, it's from a children's book, and I just covered up this part. And I'll go through the other two more quickly. And they will just be in the shop by the name of the golden book. So this one is Mother Goose. Next we have numbers. Again, I did some collaging on the front, and I included some numbers. Some fabric on the spine with this fancy trim that Janet sent me. And another collage on the back with a vintage paper doll. This one shows the boy toasting bread. They're making breakfast. So I included this bread and jelly card. This is gift wrap. This is a piece together cardstock pocket, and I fussy cut this bird out of another scrapbook paper and glued him on. Swedish book page, the handmade paper. You can see some fibers in there. It's got chenille tab. There's Peter Pumpkin Eater cut from the gift wrap. And then this is a card I made with an old flash card. Well, not extremely old, it's pretty glossy, but I love the colors on it, and I just sewed it to cardstock. That was in my stash. I'm glad I had a chance to use it. I love ranunculus. Isn't that pretty? I tried to grow it, but it didn't grow in my garden. Love this playing card. There's a stamp here. A piece together pocket with a Mrs. Cog image. Library card. And I do have these colored library cards in my shop. And I made this little booklet. So all of these Mrs. Cog images that aren't Mother Goose, they were embellishments that I made from my stash. Author's card and a postcard, little golden book postcard. Another piece of wrapping paper. This is a printable from my shop, and it's one of the book cover and images listings. I love those illustrations. This was a card shaped like a rabbit, and I just cut the back part of it off and used it as a tuck spot, and also cut the back part of that card off. Here's another one of those illustrations from my shop. This is a digital cute rabbit. This is handmade paper, and I love it. It's very tactile, and it has gold flecks in it. Looks like clouds almost. This library pocket has this card attached to it. It's just a little miniature Hallmark card, and there's a library pocket inside with a Mrs. Cog image of Mary Had a Little Lamb. There's book pages in all of the books. This little kitten I cut from vintage gift wrap. Here is another of the Polaroid made with wrapping paper and children's book illustrations. I gotta make more of them. I love them. There's a stamp. A booklet. This has a pretty sticker on it. I like that sticker. Again, a bunny from the bunny cards. This is from that sticker book of antiquities. Gift wrap. Another of those fruit labels. It's a printable. Fold a note. Post a note. Handmade paper. Another sticker from the sticker book. I'm trying to remember where I guess this was cut from a children's book. I just made it. I don't even remember. From a piano book. And I made this out of scrapbook paper and added this little cutout from a magazine and some eyelet trim. And I had made this tag in a previous video. And I have to glue that corner of the stamp down. I love the green bingo card, and I used a green stamp. And then another library pocket that was made with scrapbook paper and my Cricut with an image glued to it and a library card with my signature. That one's numbers. And lastly, we have the owl and the pussycat, the purple seam binding on it, some collage on the front. This is a stamped image. This label is a stamped image, but it's stamped on a ledger page, a very old ledger page. Has this pretty, I kind of went with the purple and pinky images from the cover to add some of the embellishments. This is a reproduction Dolly Dingle, but it is probably from the 1990s. It was from my mom's collection when, yeah, I think it's from the 1990s. This is a Tim Holtz piece, and this is from a vintage paper doll set. A pieced together pocket. I had this little strip of a film negative laying on my desk, so I just glued that on there, and this is a little booklet. I think each journal got one of the little Mrs. Cog booklets that I had made from my, and they were in my stash. You can tell this is definitely made with scraps. Plus that image. Yeah, I think that's from Blue in the Garden from Mrs. Cog. I used a map card because they're getting in the pea green boat. The owl and the pussycat are getting in the pea green boat to do some sailing. If you're not familiar with The Owl and the Pussycat, it's a nonsense poem by Edward Lear. Gift wrap here. This is just a collage card that you can journal on, and a Mrs. Cog image behind. This page here is from a book on drawing and sketching. The Swedish book page. And the final Polaroid made out of wrapping paper. I don't know, I love them all, but I love the way the colors of this matched the colors of the wallpaper. Did I say wrapping paper? It's wallpaper. And I just embellished it and made this little booklet out of a globe cut from an atlas. Again, this is the black handmade paper with the fibers in it. I left this dress open on the side so I could tuck that little card in. This is a tag that I use my blue inventory tags and collaged on it. Some owls in honor of the owl and the pussycat. I used some cat images in this book too. On this pocket, I embellished with this glittery butterfly. It's fabric. Gift wrap. It's a journaling card from TLC Creates Vintage. There's their wedding day. There's the cat. And this is another of the little tiny Hallmark cards tucked in the envelope. Let's get together and do something seriously silly. I think we all need to do that sometimes. I know I'm not silly often enough. I'm way too serious. This is a page from a storybook about Heidi. Look at his slippered feet. Here's a bunny card. This one I left whole. On a paint chip, you can embellish and have fun with that. And a color kitten. I used to read that story to my children and grandchildren a lot. This one has a truck that you can put together. I used some pig pictures in here too, because when they got to the land where the bong tree grows, there in the wood a piggywig stood with a ring at the end of his nose. And they needed a ring so they could get married. So there he is. The pages that didn't get used in the journals will come, I'll send them along with all of the books. So there were some pig pictures, images in this book. And I love this kitten gift wrap. So although it wasn't, these aren't themed journals, I did kind of have a nod toward the theme of the book with the numbers and the animals and the nursery rhymes. This is handmade paper and it is very, very soft. So there's another pig. This one I didn't do a collage on the back because it's already collaged, but I did add this piece of vintage lace. There's another pocket that was in my stash, made from a scrap and a Mrs. Cog image. This one, this little boy is surrounded by cats. It's just a little journaling card here, and I tucked this image in. It came out of a book. There she is. After their wedding, they danced by the light of the moon, they danced by the light of the moon. There's another cat, the shy little kitten. And this is a time card, I think. Well, it's a, you're supposed, not a time card, you're supposed to keep track of something. Maybe, did you exercise today? Because it's got all the months and all the days. So this would be for the whole year. This card is Ring Around the Rosie. And then I had this very big pocket made out of white cardstock in my stash for a long time, and I decided it was time to use it. So I inked it with purple, added this printable, and this is a printable also, I guess. It was in my stash. So there you go. We have the Owl and the Pussycat, numbers, and Mother Goose. And as I said, all of the leftover pages will be included with the journal when you receive it in the mail. If you decide that you want it and you go to my shop and order it, I will leave my shop linked below. So all you have to do is click on the link and it will take you right to my Etsy shop, and hopefully you will find the journal that you want there. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed making these Eclectic Stash Buster fun journals. I hope you enjoyed looking at them. I will see you soon in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.